Good evening. Today we have with us Captain Bajeta. He served with the prestigious 5th Regiment of the Gorkha Rifles Frontier Force, and as a short service officer, after completing his contract, he came out and started his career in the facilities management space. He has been with some of the very marquee brands like Cushman, and now for almost 5 odd years, he has been in the startup space. Started as AVP with Urban Company, which used to be known as Urban Clap, and is now the Vice President, Workplace Safety and Infrastructure. And today we have invited him to help us understand the basic landscape of facilities management as a career choice for officers after they have, when they are transitioning from uniform to the corporate. So, welcome to the talk today, Captain Vijeta.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me over.
I'll start with the first question itself. Are there any industry forums specific for facilities management or where people can get the right connect for looking for suitable opportunities?
Yes, so there is basically a couple of them, like one very relevant, and I would, in case you guys are interested in this particular functions and area, it's called Global Association of Corporate Services. I'll just type it out in the chat. You can search it. It's called GACS.
Global Association of Corporate Services. Right.
So,
Yeah, please.
by the way, the founder of this association is also a co-founder, is an ex-army officer, Captain Rajesh Sharma. And there is Samir Saxena, who is what do you call? If you go to LinkedIn and I've just posted this today evening on this talk, so he has commented on that. So this is one association which brings all workplace facility management industry. It includes security as well, but like I said, this is an area which complements each other. Right, you can be an admin head in one place, but next job that you take, you might be admin head plus security head. The next job you go, you can be back to admin head. So these roles all complement each other. So GACS, sir, is one very good, what do you call, and it's a very active platform. You should go into the website. It has free subscription. You don't have to pay for anything. Become a member.
Right. So what Major Bajeta just said, it's GACS headed or rather co-founded by Captain Rajesh Sharma. You can find Gaurav Bajeta on LinkedIn. You can find Captain Rajesh Sharma on LinkedIn, and you can find GACS. Start your networking if you are looking at facilities, admin, and those kind of opportunities. My final question from my side today. You mentioned that Tenon gave you a 15 lakh package when you had kind of started 10 years ago. I don't want the particulars, but can you still give an idea of someone who's coming out, what kind of a career path they can be looking at, in both in terms of positions and the money they can be looking at without too much of travel?
Sure, I'm okay sharing the numbers also. Like, I think this is a platform where we can disclose numbers, and these are not confidential numbers. This is public information. So when I was like I said, anchor the veteran hiring program at Urban Company. So I did a fair amount of market research and peer comparisons on what are the salaries that Fauji's are getting. So I think before I tell you the numbers, one very important and unfortunate aspect about Fauji's is that Fauji's are very good at underselling themselves, and we have basically got into this vicious cycle of underselling ourselves, where every new Fauji who's coming out is ready to start a job with a pay cut at a salary lower than what the previous Fauji was getting. So what this has done is it's created like this vicious cycle of underpaid Faujis, which means, you are not getting the right money for the job you're doing, the value that you're adding. And the corporates are then trying to optimize your role with cost cutting, which is, I am a strong believer, which should not happen. Like, if you have the skill set, if you're adding the right value, you bloody get well paid for it. Like, there is no reason why organizations will not pay you. But do not undersell yourself. Like there are a lot of instances where we get stuck with, this is the only city I will work, and I'm ready to work at X amount lesser than what you're going to offer. Those, I'm sure, I don't want to get into that argument. There are a lot of dynamics. Somebody who's retired, who has a home, who has a family, who's okay to, operate in a certain city and ready to work. But generally saying is, my observation is Fauji is generally undersell themselves. So coming back to your question, sir, I think so I'll first start with the 5 years officers. So there is 5 years, there is 10 years, then there is 20 years. So these are the general three segments that I will talk of, which exit the forces. The 5, 10. 5 अब बहुत कम बच गए हैं. 10 years का वो हो गया है. Basically आपका short service is also 10 years, but there are a handful of officers who come out in 5 years. So if you are 5 years, your starting salary should be in the range of 22 to 26 lakhs. And there will always be a range. Why? Because it'll be a function of which city you are in, which company you are in, how well the company is doing. So there's a whole lot of stuff at play. But generally, for a 5-year-old guy, you should not be accepting salaries lower than 20 to 23 lakhs. Like 25 ko ballpark rakh lete hain. 25 lakhs should be the range. If you are 5 years, you should be looking at. For the 10 years short service officers who are coming out, I think the salary brackets should generally be around 30 lakhs, 28 to 30 lakhs. 30 is good, 33, 34 is like awesome, but 28 se niche, you should not be accepting. Like anything below 28, you are underselling yourself. 20 years, frankly, I have never hired anybody who's 20 years because they would obviously be senior to me. But if you are coming out after 20 years, I would say that your expectation on salary should easily be 35 to 40 lakhs. Like 40 lakhs being basically the range. 35 if you're compromising on a lot of things, but not lesser than 35. So for these particular functions, see, one important aspect to consider is that when a corporate is hiring a Fauji for as an CRE or a real estate or facility management head, the reason for that is they're only looking at him as a Fauji. So the 10 and the 20 don't make much of a difference to them. So they look at this candidate as an ex-Fauji. And mostly 10 and 20, the expectation, the skill sets you bring in is mostly the same, I would say. Like between 10 to 20, there's not significant upskilling that you've done in the Forge also. Like your courses are done, your postings are mostly done, you've done a staff posting also. So generally you possess the same, what do you call, skill sets. So therefore the gap, while the gap of service is 10 years, there is not a significant difference in salary. So if there are any short service officers on this call and who have a question ki 20 saal karu ki 10 saal karu, I would say leave in 10 years. And which means the 10 years corporate experience that you'll have is basically going to, the 10 years of extra army service that you're going to have is not going to give you a significant advantage over the 10-year guy. So if you're short service, you've done 10 years, the market recognizes you as a military veteran, this is the time to exit.
Right.
And then use the next 10 years to, like 10 years is, the world is your playground. Like you can do so much of stuff.
Right. So the general gist of the salaries is there, and we understand that. Since the discussion has been around facilities and all, one last question which came to my mind. I'm taking too much of your time. So my last question, I mean, I'm sure people also have their questions. Are there some 4-5 companies you can say kind of name which officers can be approaching or should be shortlisting for starting a career in the facilities management? One you obviously said CBRE. Anything else you would like to point out?
If you're looking for IPCs, then I will actually just type out these names because people might miss it. So one is CBRE, the other is JLL, the next is Cushman and Wakefield, then there is Colliers, right? So basically, these are, then there is Knight Frank. So these are basically big names in India. So these are the 4 5 companies which are primarily only doing this. So the opportunity to get roles, and there are lots of OGs in these companies. If you go onto LinkedIn, and I hope if you guys on this call are on the verge of transitioning, like if there's somebody who's still not on LinkedIn and who, if you've not made a profile, if you don't have good number of contacts, then I must tell you that you're going to have a tough time. Like I must tell you that you're not preparing yourself enough and you are preparing to get rogered outside. So please network, please make connects, please, talk to as many people as possible. And LinkedIn like is the best possible platform. Like you have to be on LinkedIn. You cannot, LinkedIn might not get you a job, but what LinkedIn will do is it'll give you a very good perspective on, what are these functions, what are these people, where are, army officers settled, what are the kind of jobs they're doing. And there will be few where you will have good close contacts and you can kind of reach out to them personally. One request that I have from everybody, since I'm talking of LinkedIn, is you know फौजीज unfortunately get senti very quickly. मैंने उसको मैसेज किया, उसने जवाब नहीं दिया, उसको कॉल किया, he didn't call me back. So please understand that the people who are in corporate right now are significantly overworked, like everybody, like nowhere close to the work hours of the people who are in service. Like usually a work day is an average 12 hours work day, and at times it stretches to weekends also, because the function is such, the expectations are such that like everybody is overworked. So there will be a lot of times where you reached out to people, you message them on LinkedIn and they've not messaged you back, or kind of they've not followed up. Please remember, the onus of the follow up is yours and not that person's, right? So please do not get senti when somebody does not respond to your first message. Follow up, send another message, and say whenever there's a good time I would want to connect. But don't get worked up कि यार मैंने मैसेज भेजा और ये तो मुझसे, मेरा रेजिमेंट टाइप था, ये तो मेरा जूनियर था, और ये तो मेरे उसका था, उसने मुझे मैसेज भी नहीं किया. एंड सो you have to understand the other side also. Like a lot of times people don't check their messages, they don't check LinkedIn. So therefore, please take the onus on yourself to continuously, what do you call, be persistent on that follow up. And I'll share a real example. I was in this value talk conversation, face to face meetup that Captain Vipul had organized in Gurgaon, and there were, I think, sir, 70 80 officers there that time.
80 plus.
Yeah. So, and I think 60 of them took my card and they greeted me. I will come and reach out to you. I will message you. Out of that, only 10 officers messaged me on LinkedIn. Out of that, only 3 re-messaged me. And out of that, only 1 officer came to meet me. So this is the reality, guys. I will not have the time and the intent to start reaching out to you and asking, "Kya you need help from me?" I don't have that, and that's the reality. And if you're expecting that, this guy is an ex-Fauji and he'll go above and beyond to support yes, they will go above and beyond when you continuously follow up with them, when you get persistent. Like there are some officers who've been continuously messaging me, what time can I speak to you? What time? And I talk to them in parts. कभी 10 मिनट बात कर ली, okay, I'll call you back. फिर then I call them in the evening, okay, 5 बार. So I'm not trying to show that I'm a very busy man. Generally, everybody, if you're in corporate, आपकी generally life ऐसी होगी. Like you don't know when you're going to get busy. You don't know when you're going to be able to check your messages. So be a little persistent in following up with people, and don't get senti if you don't get a response.
Yeah, so that's part of the entire process of getting a job, oblique, a sales order, whatever one they call it. I'm very thankful for your time and relevant and from the heart experiences which you shared. I genuinely believe that a lot of officers who are listening to us now and a lot of them who will listen to the subsequent recording of this talk will benefit. Thank you so much for your time, Captain Bajeta.